as we've been talking about, President Trump is on the brink of basically being the first president to be impeached twice, this time for incitement of insurrection, exactly a week after the siege on the Capitol. I want to bring in now NBC News White House correspondent Monica Alba. Monica, I know that you and I have been talking with our sources over the last 24 hours. I'm told that the president is still, even as recently as the last day or so, musing about the possibility of a self-pardon, right, to give you a sense of where his head is at here, entrenched really in his defiance at this point. What are you hearing from folks that you're talking to today?
That's right, Hallie, and we're now really hearing from some Republicans around the president who are also expressing some surprise at what has become incredibly clear, which is there is no coordinated strategy by either the White House or the Republican National Committee to defend President Trump's actions as he faces this historic second impeachment vote today. And that's visible from everybody from his closest allies and aides. And normally those people who would be top surrogates are not on the airwaves trying to justify his controversial actions, nor were any of the normal talking points that usually get sent out to those top surrogates and people who can go defend the president go out. Those haven't gone out in days, actually, because there's such a bare bones staff operating out of the White House and certainly the communications part of that. And also because you have such a small group of people currently around the president. He is as isolated as ever, increasingly so. And just take a minute to zoom out and think about where the president was the last time that he was impeached and what an all-out defense and response he mounted in response to that. He was actually at a rally in Battle Creek, Michigan that I remember being at back in December of 2019 when those votes were taking place, and they were so proud, in fact, of how many House Republicans voted against the impeachment that an aide brought out a cardboard cutout with the numbers to show the president just from off stage so that he could tout that in the middle of his speech. And he was incredibly pleased with, in his words, how strong the Republican faction held. That's not really something we're going to be seeing from the president today, of course, as you hear more and more Republicans say they're going to come out and vote for his impeachment. How many is unclear, and our Hill team is doing a great job of trying to track that down ahead of this afternoon. But Hallie, as you know so well, this is a president also who, when he does want to come out and speak or address the cameras, he does so, but he has not been in the recent weeks. And without his Twitter megaphone, we don't have a good way to know exactly what he's thinking in this moment. But there isn't even the press secretary, Kayleigh McEnany, or any of the president's children out here defending him, because simply, in the words of some of the Republicans I'm talking to, there is no defense here that sticks or lands, Hallie.
Hey there, I'm Chris Hayes from MSNBC. Thanks for watching MSNBC on YouTube. If you want to keep up to date with the videos we're putting out, you can click subscribe just below me or click over on this list to see lots of other great videos.